stealth in Baldur's Gate, the ability to hide, the ability to backstab, the ability to utilize it in the game, is it broken? Is it an auto win? That's what I want to explore in this vlog, and I want to challenge you if you haven't played a stealth-based character, and there's a couple of different ways to build such a character. It's not always a straight thief or assassin. I want to challenge you to explore some of the nuances with stealth and how, in many ways, based on the game engine, it makes some encounters not only super easy, but also super interesting and super fun, especially if you're running the game solo. Now, yes, Baldur's Gate, it's AD&D. We've got a backstory. We've got adventures. We've got side quests. We've got intrigue. I'm not going to give away any spoilers in this vlog because I don't know where you are in the game, and I don't want to spoil and ruin that self-discovery. But at its core, it's a combat-based engine. You've got some flowing and moving maps. You've got places to explore, and within the D&D framework, you're fighting lots and lots of encounters, lots and lots of monsters, some random spawns, some fixed, some boss monsters. So understanding how combat works and the constraints of it, it is a role-playing game, but it is a combat engine. Stealth becomes very, very powerful. So let's explore some of the ways regarding stealth. I'm talking about right now primarily a thief-based character where you're going to hide in shadows and move silently. You're going to jack those scores up. You're going to get the average of them. There's ways to increase it with certain potions and magical gear. Likewise, it does play an extent, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to see depending on the actual map itself, hiding in shadows, places that are blocked by line of sight or behind things, or if it's day or night, or if you're in a dungeon, areas that are not illuminated, does make a difference in the role. Now, crunching the numbers behind the screen and actually seeing it, I can't say exactly what those are. So it's not like if you hide out of torchlight, it's plus 10 to hide. And likewise, moving silently is different in a dungeon or outside, right, if you're moving through a field. But it does play a significant difference. These things stack. So the very first thing, of course, is being able to hide. A thief can do this. A shadow dancer can do this hiding in plain sight. There's other ways to hide in plain sight and then hide if you're not a shadow dancer, such as invisibility. Popping invisibility, running away to break combat, hiding and come back. So being able to hide is the first piece of it. Second is moving, right? There's, again, going to be modifiers, trying to move up. Eventually, like all tabletop role-playing games, the engine doesn't always scale as well, right? This is one of the reasons why at the end of the game, at the beginning of the game, you see so many items you want to buy. At the end of the game, you're just tossing them by the side of the road, like +2 swords, flaming this, flaming that, suits of magical armor. You're like, I just can't carry all this gear, and you're tossing it aside. Likewise, gold. You've got so much gold. At the end of the game, you can't even spend it all. You could probably buy Baldur's Gate. What this means, of course, is as the game scales. So as you level up and you put points into hide and move silent and focus on your stealth-based abilities, detect illusion is also kind of interesting. Set traps if you want to go in that direction. It's going to reach a point where now it regularly happens, even with penalties working against you. So you just kind of have to work on that, spend your points, and level up. So the first thing with stealth is recon. There are places in the game that are hidden by the fog of war or the fog of the map. And when you wander into them, the encounter starts. Minor spoiler, but not really because there's a lot of them. There are wandering parties in the game, some good, some evil, but a classic kind of AD&D party. They're going to work together with massive synergy. They're going to have frontline fighters. They're going to have the spellcasters. They're going to have the ranged stuff. Some of those are really, really tough. And they initiate as soon as you make contact. So you're kind of wandering along with your party. You wander into a group of adventurers and potentially combat could start. How are you going to get off first strike? We're going to talk about first strike in a moment. So just being able to kind of recon and get the lay of the land and figure out where you're going to go and what you're going to do, that right there makes so many encounters much, much easier. But there's a balance. You could get caught. You could become visible. You could activate them. There are some encounters that might even spot you to some extent. But the recon is important. Second, let's look at first strike. This idea of you've reconned, you see a party, you see a monster, popping off a spell ahead of time, popping off certain potions that explode, right? This idea that you can, the fog of war, you can move to the very edge where the party can't see you, you can't see them, but you can target area effects right at them. The ability to drop one or two of those, to stay hidden, recon, to drop one or two of those is great, is absolutely fantastic for kind of softening things up, especially since these combats kind of start as soon as you're there. Let's talk about backstab or dealing with damage, because backstab, of course, depends on the character, the modifiers. Are you a thief? Are you a shadow dancer? Are you an assassin? Are you a bard utilizing invisibility and kind of semi-stealth from that perspective? Being able to run up and strike is huge, not only in the damage that it deals, but the fact that, again, Baldur's Gate is kind of set up as a role-playing game. Something that I want to take out fast is going to be behind a mob of minions or in a certain place or just crossing the map itself, the battle map that we're playing in that moment, crossing it, they're going to pop off some spells, they're going to get defensive stuff up, they're going to activate special powers, whatever it's going to be. The ability to navigate that, get close, and potentially hit and cause damage, and then hide again and come back. That's very interesting. That's very powerful. Of course, being AD&D, there's a lot of what ifs. You have to hit. There's modifiers that are going to help that. The damage that you're going to do, of course, is going to depend on gear. It's going to depend on other aspects in terms of what's your backstab modifiers, your damage. But again, no spoilers, there are ways to jack yourself up. Potions with stealth are massive. The fact that you could pop off some extra damage dealing potions, potion of X whatever strength, jack yourself up, have certain gear that's possibly poisoned or other aspects, and get off that hidden stealth first strike. That's big. That's a lot of damage. That's like, a free 3 or 4 rounds of combat operating from that perspective. The last piece, which I won't say is primary, but it's kind of fun for the lulls, stealth and picking pockets. You could make an entire run through the game trying to pick pockets. There's a lot of junk out there. Well, first of all, there's a lot of nothing, but that would be expected. I mean, what? Not everyone's carrying a ton of stuff. But then there's a lot of kind of interesting and little trinkets here and there, potions and gems and stuff like that, rings. But then there's some interesting and very, very unique gear that you don't get from fighting, because these NPCs that have it, you're not going to fight them. So being able to look, and there's I will say without any spoilers, but I'll point you in the right direction. There are some interesting little hints in the game. Like if you go to an inn, who's staying in certain rooms, or a council meeting somewhere, and obviously this is like high-level rulers and meetings, they've got some interesting gear. You've got to have a high enough pickpocket, absolutely, but stealth is going to help boost that and push that. That's interesting. It's not the primary way, but it's kind of interesting along the way and kind of fun for the lulls. And certainly at some point, you're going to want to make a pickpocket run through Baldur's Gate and just kind of explore the game from that perspective. But stealth is extremely powerful, extremely, extremely powerful. And of course, you can even do ranged stealth if you look at the various crossbows and bows that are magical, and then have certain ammo, exploding arrows, ice arrows, flame arrows, +1 arrows, that type of stuff, the ability to have that gear and do that. I mean, that's huge. That's huge with how it damages it out. So I would say it is broken in that it is very powerful, but it's not just point and click. You've got to navigate the stealth. You've got to have a plan for breaking the stealth. You have to have a plan for when you've been caught with the stealth and utilize those aspects either as a solo run or with a party.